When I see simulator in a title, I always believe the intention of the game is to strive for realism. Here we have a game where you can fall off buildings, not get hurt, purposefully crash your fire truck into cars with zero consequence, and generally just piss about around fires. I wanted to like this, but instead I hate it. Welcome back to Midlife Gamer, and again apologies for the slower videos of late. Again, I'm still recovering from COVID. It really has wiped me out. For the rest of you, please stay safe out there. It's not a nice thing to get for those that do get it in a bad way like myself. So apologies again if the voice is a little bit off. But let's get straight to it in today's review of Firefighting Simulator The Squad. Now, I'm surprised there's actually not more games of this nature that look to the emergency services and how you can live the day and the life of these heroes. On paper then, it all looks great. You're part of a squad of 4 people, 3 of which can be played online with other people. You start out at base, you drive your fire engine to set fire, you ensure you have all the right equipment, and you have to deal with the game engine that can spread the fire realistically, all while saving people, avoiding dangers as well, such as backdraft. It sounds brilliant, right? Oh, how wrong you are, because the actual execution here is shocking. It's so bad that I came away from it angry, mainly because the ingredients are here for such a good game, but they totally fucked it. Perhaps the best way to explain it is to simply go through a mission and show you why this is so far off the mark. So let's start out with the initial drive to the fire itself. The city is modelled okay, but interesting enough to feel like it's a believable rich haven for those with a household income of 300 grand or more. As you progress to your location, the radio starts to provide a little background as to what's happening. Not too bad, you think, except it never feels like there was enough drama here. I'd love for there to just be a bit more excitement, more impending doom coming my way. Oh god, there's a pregnant woman somewhere in the house. The fire's out of control. You've got mere minutes remaining. Yeah, I get that's not realistic, but trust me, this game isn't going for realism. Case in point, I purposefully rammed my fire truck into cars to see what happens. The square root of Soddle is the answer. No penalty, no fouled mission, nothing but a little quib from your teammate to tell you to watch out. And then it dawns on you, this whole ride to the fire itself is just filler. There is zero reward or risk in the way that you drive, which by the way, the trucks handle like pigs, and it all just feels like a wasted opportunity. The AI sucks, the sounds become samey very fast, there are no obstacles to be aware of, no one crossing the road, no weather, you just drive and that's it. Hence why I wish they at least use this time to build up a lot more tension to the impending doom that lay before you. Then comes your arrival. Thank Dante, we have arrived. Here comes the cumbersome part of getting your equipment. Open the correct sliding door, get hose, attach hose to hydrant, get another hose, attach hose to fire truck, now drop hose, attach the nozzle, pick up hose. Okay, you get the picture, and I have no issue with making this realistic and doing it the right way. After all, in my opening gambit, I said a simulator should strive for realism, but where is the fun or skill here? It's just button presses, and worse still, they cut out the animations of dropping and picking up because they simply couldn't be asked, and so it all just looks shit with teleporting items. Now in single player it gets even worse. You have to control your AI partners to do stuff. No shit, there is a fucking pregnant lady burning the goddamn building and you just stand there? Now as a captain I get that I have control and I'm not against telling my teammates what rooms they need to go in and where they need to fight the fire, but they should also get their gear in place and also start fighting the damn fire until I tell them otherwise. It's freaking awful how they behave, and even when you do command them, the controls are clunky, a terrible UI at the top right which is hard to work out. Perhaps most damning for me though is the total lack of energy. You see, when you save someone from a burning house, you have to walk them out to the stationed ambulance, and the bloke just stands there, doesn't even move a fucking inch for you, literally just stands there making your journey harder. And then there's the public. They just stand there too, staring at these intense flames as their little baby or their little prized possession burns to death, or they just go about their daily lives like nothing has happened. When I arrive on a scene, I want things to feel intense, scary, heightened, a sense of risk for everyone close by. Not here though, we're all having a jolly good time burning to death. making the job of the firefighter as miserable as possible. As you enter the house, you have some options: vent in a room, smash it open, get the right tools to pull down doors, etc. Should you do this, of course, you better hope you go back to the fire truck and select the right bloody door to get the right bloody tool, and with that nothing feels urgent, even in the way characters walk or run. Instead, everything feels lethargic, and saving people is just so stupid. Again, they teleport into you. There is zero skill to finding them, and little care is rarely needed overall. I've been close enough to a fire where the victim's skin should melt away, but alas, their cotton sweaters remain pristine. Now, before all of this, there's a tutorial that provides little missions along the way. My biggest concern here is that the tutorial really shows you literally everything. There really is nothing to be surprised about thereafter. I actually felt like I experienced everything the game had to offer come the end of this tutorial, but I was hoping the game would throw me some surprises along the way. Sadly not. So with all this nonsense out the way, let's get to actually why we're here, and that's fighting the damn fire. And you know what? It's pretty decent. There's a mechanic where you need to aim for the little fire icons, which will help put out that section of the fire quicker. However, you need to ensure that you do so in a methodical way, as the fire can reignite areas if left unattended. And the fire looks like fire and it sounds like fire. So for a game about putting out fires, it does that bit pretty well. But the nature of the fires in terms of mission context? Well, sadly it becomes repetitive real fast, as missions just seem similar. I get house fire as a house fire, but with so many reused assets along the way, you can't help but feel the number of missions is really a bit of a fallacy, as there is always a sense you've just kind of done it before. Ideally, this game needed way more variation to keep this interesting. A car accident with multiple fires with an oil tanker ready to explode. A fire in a public building like a library or museum where artifacts may disappear. And more to the point, this quaint town is full of fires. Who are doing these fires? Is this even normal? At bare minimum, they could have so easily added a basic story of some arsonist going around town, burning the local Trader Joe's, and you have to put out the fires, and the quicker you put them out, hey, you recover evidence that helps the police understand who that twat is. They just lacks purpose. After a few hours of firefighting, and unless playing with mates, it's all going to feel very boring very quickly. And the rewards are bare at best, with perhaps a new fire truck unlocked along the way that you can then just crash into other cars. Everything just feels shallow in its implementation. So graphically it's okay at best. The fire itself looks good, but other than that everything else is pretty standard affair. Smoke is okay but doesn't really cause you issues in what you do, and the building interiors have basic assets. The lighting also seems off. When a fire burns, you would hope it would interact with the shadows around it, but not really here. All the shadows kind of appear baked in. Water also looks like a foamy mess sprouting out your hose. However, the city itself is decent and has a nice vibe to it, but then the basic cars ruin it all. There is nothing to shout home about overall, and the game certainly isn't a looker if comparing to other simulators. Now, I want to be clear here, I'm running on a SSD, RTX 3080, 32 gigs of RAM, and the game runs poorly on high settings. There is nothing that should be too demanded here, but the optimizations are piss poor. For those on lower end machines, you may struggle and you may need to drop settings lower still. Not even brute force system specs can make this game run smooth. Things get particularly bad when in the middle of a fire and you have 4 streams of water fighting it. My RTX 3080 nearly caught fire. Now, I've mentioned the rigid and lack of animations briefly before. They do not help either with the overall graphical aesthetic to what the game is trying to achieve in terms of fighting fires in a realistic way where danger may lie around the corner. Everything combines in this sense to come across as a cheap ass game that could and should be better with just a little bit more effort. As for sounds, well, you hear the siren a lot, but I can't fault the game for that. The other sounds? Jesus Christ, I swear the sound effects team cooked some bacon at home, poured some cold water into the pans and create the sound effect of putting out a massive blaze. And the roars of the fire aren't strong enough either, as it would be in real life. It's way too quiet in there, that doesn't add to any sense of danger. If they just added some additional sound effects in the background too, like things breaking up, such as glass or cupboards falling down, that would have helped a lot. There's just very little going on. And what about your teammates? Zero communication, zero radio chatter, utter silence. Oh, and when you do burn your fireman alive, it sounds like you're playing a beat 'em up from the 80s. is your firefighter lets out some kind of injury cry. The sound was clearly the last part of the puzzle they invested in, and sadly, it's what really lets the game down the most. I always believe that sound can make or break a game in terms of its realism, and this is a great example of that. It's a harsh review, yeah, but I must remind myself this is not an early access title. It's a full release game asking for what, 25, 30 bucks of your money, and so it'll be judged as such. Firefighting Simulator The Squad lacks an incredible amount of polish, whether that be in its lackluster gameplay mechanics, its terrible optimizations, or its ridiculous sound. There is a great premise in here for a simulator game though. There's real opportunity to grow upon the groundwork here, and I would say if playing online with your mates, I can imagine this would be a much better experience. But if you've got no mates because you've got COVID like me, then don't bother wasting your time and go for other emergency style games such as Police Simulator Patrol Officers, which offers way more realism, way more polish, and it has so much more stuff to do, and that game is still in early access. And with that guys, stay safe and I'll speak to you all soon.